of the Gold and Blue Breakdown Show. And yes, I stole that from Jonathan. Jonathan, what's up, man?
Couz, we are back, man. Episode 38, we've done a few of these, but it just doesn't feel quite right until now. So, what's not to love? Rich Rod's back. Football is back. We'll count practice first day, and we're back. So, excited.
Yeah, man. And thank you all. We're doing this. We normally don't do this show live, but since we haven't done a show in a few weeks and it is the start of fall camp, I thought, you know what? We're doing this one live tonight. Give the audience a chance to interact with us a little bit. Thank you all for those of you who've jumped on. If you're watching this on X, aka Twitter, please be sure to come over and check out the channel once the show's over. Check out past shows, pre-recorded, live, whatever. Also, for all of you, don't forget our new website, wvsportschat.com. You can interact with us there at WV Sports Chat. It's a site Jonathan and I are heading up, and we've got a bunch of great writers over there as well that are putting up content for us on a daily basis. So we ask that you please help support us over there as well if you like written content, and of course right here at Couz's Corner for the video side of things. So, Jonathan, real quick, let's go ahead and dive in. Oh, and a shout out to our sponsor, Appalachia Digital, which we'll talk more about them later in the show. But, man, just real quick before we dive into our player grades or position group grades, what were your initial takeaways from Rich Rod's presser today?
Yeah, was able to catch pretty much the whole thing. Obviously, put a little bit of the snapshot quotes up on the site. He was about what I expected after day one. He seemed to be a little back on the saddle. It was nice to be back, I thought, for him. He made it clear that some of the players weren't quite ready for what they had to do. He talked about numerous players that had already cramped up. And I think at one time, talking about the wide receiver position, he said, I think the portal's still open, right? So, it was maybe a little on topic and maybe a little off topic, but it was a little nostalgia, right? I mean, just kind of seeing him there with the West Virginia logo on the chest, and it kind of finally hit you that it's real, But he seemed to be enjoying himself, and you can tell these coaches are ready to get at it. So we'll see how it goes. I think he's ready for contact. He counted down the days where they had to wear kind of just some, couldn't really get into much contact. I think he's ready, but we all are.
Yeah, I think he is too. I caught that comment too about the wide receivers. I think he was saying that a little bit in jest, but
he was, yeah.
But it apparently it sounded like most of the guys cramping up were from the same position room.
Yeah,
which is kind of ironic. But and he touched on, a lot of those guys probably aren't used to practicing with the same intensity that he requires.
Yeah,
because most of them came from even the ones who didn't come from a different school. Still, even the ones that were at West Virginia, I don't think Coach Brown's practices were as intense.
yeah.
So, for better or worse, right? I guess we'll find out whether that works or not. But yeah, so I think that it's going to take some getting used to. A couple takeaways for me. One, and kind of the big talking point, I guess, by a lot on social media is the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
He talked about how, he's got 5 quarterbacks who are competing for the spot. Not sure how realistic that is.
Yeah.
I think it's just coach speak to make sure everybody's ready and everybody's practicing hard and prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And he even made a comment that he's not afraid to rotate quarterbacks, in games, which some fans don't really seem to like that approach.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think that's very realistic either. I think he'll eventually, find a guy and stick with him. But it might take, it wouldn't surprise me though if it takes 2 or 3 games before we do see a quarterback separate themselves. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and it's funny because we actually just put James Gravely, one of our writers, and I we teamed together to do a Q&A for camp, and that was, of course, one of the questions that we get, not just in that, but we get often, is will he run a 2 QB system, or how long will he run it? He's even talked previously because about he may have to do more with his quarterbacks during camp just to try and get that separation. And so expect him to do that. I'll start out, I guess, by saying I don't see this as a 5-horse race. I think that's talk. I think it's coach speak. To be completely honest, I don't think it's 3. I think a lot of people talk about Max Brown. And while there are some things that I like there, I'm not quite sure he gets to that Nico Jalen conversation. Now, it's what Cam's for, right? I mean, he could come in and put the work in and do a little, impress, and who knows. But I think it's a Nico Jalen thing. I think it doesn't separate it. Just my prediction. I don't think they separate themselves either way during camp. I actually think they don't separate themselves maybe even through week 2. I think it's probably the Pitt game before you find who your guy is. I'll also say that I don't subscribe to the theory though of if you have 3, you don't have 1. I don't know that I believe that either.
Yeah, I don't either.
I actually subscribe to the theory that I think competition's a good thing. Now, again, would it be in a perfect world, would it be great if you had a quarterback that was coming back that was a Heisman contending leader, or you know what I'm saying? That would obviously be good, but I don't subscribe to that. If you've got 2, 3, 4, you don't have 1. I don't believe that competition's a good thing. So,
Yep, I agree. I agree with
but
that sentiment.
I feel like it's a 2-man race, and we'll see where it goes through camp.
Yep, agreed. And one more thing I want to touch on, and this is kind of a popular topic as well. I've been intending to do a video on this, but I thought I would just wait and you and I could discuss it tonight. I know some other shows have talked about it more, but the eligibility issues with 4 players right now. I think you actually got asked about this maybe on the Q&A you did back
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. But we've got Jamoy Robinson, Justin Harrington, Ty Edwards, and I think Jeffrey Weimer or Weimer,
Yep.
however you pronounce it.
Yeah.
All are awaiting NCAA to approve waivers for them to be eligible to play this year. And you know, if those guys don't get approved, especially to me, I mean, of those 4, I think Jamoy Robinson is the one that most fans are the most concerned about. You know, he was, I, I don't even think it's arguable. He was the top transfer to come into West Virginia. I've seen
100%.
some lists say he was one of the top transfers on the defensive side of the football across the country this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, you'll see it in a minute when we get to our position group grades. But to me, him not whether he's eligible or not is it going to be a huge impact on that defense. And do you think it's a bad look, Jonathan, if those guys don't get eligibility for West Virginia to take them out of the portal when according to other media sources out there were a lot of schools who wouldn't touch these guys for that purpose?
Yeah.
Because of that, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to ride both sides of the line here, but if I'm West Virginia, I roll the dice on it, especially when you get somebody like a Jamori Robinson that is an immediate. I mean, Ty Edwards. I mean, just you needed that physical back. So I'd say 2 things. One, if you didn't feel like you could replace that player through the portal, like if you didn't have the opportunity to get that level of a talent, you roll the dice. And then number 2, you've got how many new players? 72. Um, nobody wants to hear the word rebuild, and I'm not quite sure that that's how that works in today's college football. But when you have 72 new players, you're rebuilding, right? I mean, it may not be from the ground up, but I mean, it's just bring in the new and let's see how it meshes. And so I think if you're a West Virginia as opposed to a Texas and Alabama, whatever, you have to roll the dice and hope you get lucky on some of these guys. I don't have an issue with it because I think you were put in a spot where you were bringing in so many guys, you have to get lucky. The truth is, if West Virginia wants to be successful this year, they have to be lucky, whether that be with somebody coming up from a lower level or if that's an eligibility issue that gets resolved, you have to be lucky. So I have 0 issues with it. I will say my grades tonight are reflective of those players not being eligible. I should preface that because we're grading right now with the guy. For me, anyway, I'm giving you grades on guys that are on the field, and and I'll try and plug what maybe I think they would be if they were eligible. But But yeah, I don't have an issue with it, Couz. I think if you're West Virginia, you have to roll the dice because how much better is this defense with Robinson and with Harrington? Or if you can put Edwards, a physical back, with Jaheim, um, yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, and I think if you look at some of the players they went out and got in the last portal window, the most recent portal window, I guess it would have been the fall or the spring portal window. They got players, pretty good players at all of those positions. They went out and got Jalen Knighton, and I think I don't know if I don't want to speak for other fans, but I myself was thinking, my God,
Yeah,
we already had a loaded running back room. Why would you go get Jalen Knighton? Who's
yeah,
now I'm thinking, okay, maybe they thought, Ty may not be eligible. We better go get somebody else.
yeah.
Then they went and got Eddie Kelly, the defensive end from Missouri.
Hmm.
Maybe that's why they got him because they were afraid Jamori wouldn't be eligible.
Yeah,
Just go on down the line. Got the transfer receiver from UNC, I think it was. Uh, it's just point
and
being, I think they prepared for this. Maybe the players don't have the name recognition, and maybe they're not as good as the guys who were not eligible. But I think they're at least doing what they can to try to plug those holes,
yeah.
just in
And
case.
and in a world, Coos, where seemingly everybody anymore is getting a waiver because, quite frankly, the NCAA doesn't even want the hassle of a lawsuit.
Hmm.
Um, and it's probably worth noting too that, correct me if I'm wrong, but Robinson's case in particular, on the surface, and this is what confuses me about. I've seen some of those reports that say, others backed off because of it. Wasn't his JUCO season canceled?
Yes,
Like they just canceled the season, and so in fact there wasn't a season.
and then the other
And
one was and if I'm not mistaken, the other one was the COVID year.
correct. And
Yeah,
so I, I'm not on the NCAA board. I don't review these, but that seems to be in a world where everybody gets a waiver. That seems to be an easy one, right? But who knows? But again, I guess knowing that so many players get issued waivers anymore, and it's essentially a free for all about you can play wherever in the heck you want, whenever you want anymore. I mean, we got guys that are getting 7 years now.
yeah. That's what Justin Harrington
Yeah,
would be in his seventh
would
year if he
would
gets
be in
approved. He'll be in year 7.
right. But we've seen other guys that are getting those, and
Correct.
so why would West Virginia not roll the dice? I don't have a problem with it. Now, I guess the argument would be if you're a team that has X amount of dollars to spend, that's it, no big, no more, and you focus 90% of that quote unquote budget on a player, um, and you miss, that hurts. But when you're just going through the whole entire program and the whole entire roster, just don't have much of a problem with it.
Yeah, yeah. And for those of you asking about in the chat room, for those who are listening to this on podcast, we will be addressing some chats on the YouTube side of things and Twitter side of things, but it is related to JUCO. The JUCO, I don't understand the entire JUCO rule. I do know that they ruled that JUCO 1 year of, I think it's 1 year of JUCO doesn't count towards a player's eligibility, but I think there's a cutoff point to that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and it gets really confusing. It gets really confusing how that cutoff works.
Right. So it's not that cut and dry. Um, and my intention is to sit down and try to find the rule, read it, understand it. But I haven't had the time to do that yet. It's been a crazy, crazy week at work this week, so I have not had a lot of time to work on these kind of things. But um, hopefully, I will try to make myself understand that better. But uh, bottom line is, they've started fall camp without 4 players who are expected to contribute.
Yep.
A couple of them would likely be starters. I would say all 4 would find themselves at least in the 2 deep, more than likely. I think they're all that good.
Yeah.
And I have really high expectations, honestly, for at least 3 of those guys, maybe all 4 of them. So I do think they would be losses, especially Jamoy Robinson,
Mhm.
which we'll get to later when we do our grades. Real quick, before we get to that, though, I do think somebody mentioned in the chat, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this. The Best Virginia team, the Best
Yeah.
Virginia basketball TBT team, made it to the semifinals of the TBT for the first time ever. They've been in this thing now for the last 5-6 years. Jonathan, I'm not sure exactly when they started it, and this is the furthest they've ever made it. So hats off to the TBT team, put together by John Flowers and some of his colleagues and friends. But do you want to give some thoughts on the TBT
Yeah,
West
that's
Virginia
been,
team?
what started out, I guess several years ago. It was a neat idea. It was pretty cool to see it, um, and then it felt like the clash between West Virginia and Marshall just happened every year,
Right.
and that added a little intrigue to it. You almost kind of feel like it just kind of fell off just a little bit, maybe the last year or two. But this year, if nothing else, it's just been fun, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think it's been really good for obviously for the team, for the players, but it's been really good to see um, Best Virginia be fortunate enough to have it in Charleston. The Coliseum has been well attended, and so that was good to see. I mean, they kind of panned out at some of the crowd. Man, they were into it. And anytime you can unite around some players, not all of them West Virginia players, but I actually thought it's been pretty cool that Reese played for
Mm-hmm.
Ross Hodge at North
Yep.
Texas, and to see Ross Hodge kind of intertwine there
Yeah. It's
and get
pretty cool.
himself in the mix has been pretty cool. And so, tomorrow night. I mean, I guess I can say that now since we're live.
Yeah.
So tomorrow night, back in Charleston, and man, that's going to be cool. So best of luck to them, and it's always good to see anything associated with Mountaineer basketball have some success.
Yeah. And the winners of that tournament get $1 million. So
A
every
million
player and every
bucks.
coach gets a cut of that money. So it'd be a nice little payday for everybody. And I wish them, I hope they all win it. James Reese is the only player in that tournament, I think, that has scored 20 points in every single game.
Okay, and I see a comment there. I guess Reese was Eric Stevenson's roommate at South Carolina. I did not know that.
Interesting.
So it's pretty cool there to mention that. Good to see. So it's just crazy how it's all kind of worked itself out, right?
Yep.
And just even with stuff like that, and so really good to see him have some success. And Charleston's going to be electric tomorrow night. Really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. All right. Let's go ahead and dive into these position room grades, Jonathan.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
First, let's go ahead and just start off with the top with quarterbacks, man. Let's rip the band-aid off real bad. What's your grade on the quarterbacks?
Yeah, you always have a way of getting me out there first. Let me take the heat. So can I preface it by saying this was really hard to do because of the fact that whether it be eligibility, whether it be somebody that transferred over from a Power Five school, somebody from a lower level that had experience, but maybe a Power Five that didn't have much. Um, this was tough because it's really the unknown, right? I mean, we could look back on this and say we nailed it. We can look back on it and say cancel that show. They're crazy. Who knows, right? But I'm willing to take the chance. All right, here we go. Quarterbacks. I gave it just a C. And I'm going to preface all this again by saying I'm going to be tough. It's a C, and I'll tell you why. It is so unproven.
Yep.
Even what you see out of Nico Markiel is extremely limited for a guy that could potentially take over the program. Because the guy that's battling Nico, Jalen Henderson, didn't even see action last year.
Right.
So for me, I'm having a really, really tough time. Um, I'm having a tough time giving a higher grade to a room that is 20 career games for Nico, just a handful of starts. A guy who didn't even see action last year. And Max Brown, who was at UNC Charlotte, that, if I'm not mistaken, Couz, I think he threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns. I,
Correct.
and I have a hard time now. I guess I'm going to be a little glass half full too here. Okay. The game we saw from Nico last year in Arizona, you and I have talked about this numerous times. That gives you a glimpse of hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
The following week, he went to Cincinnati. Wasn't his best, but he was extremely physical, even in the football. Helped the team win on that week on the road. What we saw 2 years ago out of Jalen Henderson, there were flashes, right? But if I'm just looking at what have you done for me lately, and these are the guys that are going to lead this team. I'd like to see a little bit more. I think it's there, but I'd like to see more. Um, but I'm going with just a solid middle of the road C.
Well, you and I don't plan this. We don't talk about these before the show, but we're already the same right off the jump. I did the same thing for basically the same reasons. We don't know.
Yeah.
There's just not enough.
Yeah.
There's not enough proof out there yet. Yes, Nico started 3 games, essentially 4, considering he came into the Pitt game in 23 after only 3 snaps. Essentially 4 starts, 4 wins, great performances in some games, not so great in others. He can run the ball. I saw a picture of the quarterbacks the other day. Looks like he's transformed his body during the offseason. He was
Mm-hmm.
cut up with a 6-pack. Uh, that makes me feel good about it. We've heard Rich Raw talk glowingly about how he trusts that room and how he didn't even have to go to the portal in the spring to get another quarterback. Says it, told Phil Steele it might be the deepest quarterback room he's ever had. So, all of those things are positive, but until I see it with my eyeballs,
Yeah.
until I see Nico, for example, run a team for an entire season and win as the man, because it's different coming in off the bench and knowing you're not the starter. A little less pressure, right? When you're the guy, you're the guy. And also we got to see him do it under Rich Rod's offense. It's different than doing it. Neil Brown ran a different offense.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned with Jalen, didn't play at all last year. What happened there? Why was he not able to see the field? But Jimbo Fisher saw something in him. He went
Yeah.
out and got him from Fresno State when he had barely played there. He saw
Yeah.
something in him, and Jimbo Fisher is not. I don't. He's a pretty darn good coach. He's won a national championship, so
Yeah.
he saw something in him, right? And he
Yeah.
started some games there, but it's just too early to tell, man. So I think at this point they haven't done anything to earn anything above a C or
Yeah.
below a C. So I
I,
just
I,
I just went with the default C.
I think it's there. And you make really good points. 2 years ago, um, uh, Henderson started, I think, the last 4 games. He was
Mm-hmm.
700 plus yards. I think it was 4 or 5 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns. So
Put up
there was
good numbers. Yeah.
there was flashes there, but Texas A&M they went out and got somebody, right? So he ended that year, but didn't start and didn't see any action. I think there was a little bit of an injury there,
Well,
but
there was. He got injured, and there was also they had a coaching change, which affected it
but
too.
right. But at the end of the day, I guess it's production, right? How if I'm going to grade you, what can I base it off of? And we are basing it off of just a roll of the dice. Um, I said earlier, I think it's probably a 2-man race with Max Brown potentially showing something in camp, maybe just to bump up a little bit. I don't think anybody's going to question their effort, right? We've seen Nico specifically enough to know when you look at hard edge, I think he kind of defines it, right? I mean, he plays hard. He doesn't slide. He's physical. He's going to look for contact. He's not afraid. But again, at the end of the day, I see 3 career starts, and this is the guy who's going to take over the program under a new coach and a new system. To be determined, but I just have to go with the grade of C just because I think I've got so many questions.
I totally agree. All right, let's go ahead and jump to the next position. This one should be easy, Jonathan. I think I know what you're going to say on this one.
Well,
Running backs.
running backs. All right. So I should have probably been a little bit organized. I tell you, Couz, when you got so many players, I try to do a position thing, and we don't have enough room in the screen if we fit all
Exactly.
these players in here. I don't know. I went middle of the road C on
What?
quarterback. On quarterback.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
Woo.
going. I'm going middle of the road B.
Okay.
Now, before anybody jumps at the screen to me, I'll tell you why. I said earlier, that I used ineligible players in my grading. Right? I didn't count them. This probably bumps up to about a B plus if I've got Ty Edwards listed here. The main reason, 1,000 yards, almost 7 yards a carry, 6 touchdowns last year. He's big, physical. Ty Edwards brings something different, right? Um, but hear me out. Hear me out, because I'm going to go out on a limb and say you don't have a B here.
No.
Jaheim is, we know what Jaheim is, right? But if you don't have Ty Edwards, what is your backup plan here? Jalen Knighton, the guy who played 2 games last year because he was injured. That's a little concerning. When you essentially missed one whole season. Now, the year prior to that, he was successful in that 2023 season. But that's concerning that if Edwards is out, my backup is a guy who played 2 games last year. That's it. And then I get down into Dior Hubard, no action at running back last year. Sincere Bowers, who played community college last year.
Cannon Katzer.
A fair state. And again, respectfully, but that's not Big 12 football. So I'm nervous about that production and how that translates necessarily to Big 12. And then I even wrote about this as well because we were asked about the running back room. If you take Edwards out, you've got nothing but a bunch of speed. You don't have that change of pace that I think ideally you would love to have, which I believe is why Rich Rodriguez and them went out and got Ty Edwards. Jaheim is Jaheim, but he can't do it all. And so, call me crazy, but I'm a little bit concerned after Jaheim.
Yep, that's fair. I'm not as concerned, so I give him an A. And I put Jaheim A. I'm basing that strictly on Jaheim, primarily. I shouldn't say strictly,
Sure.
but primarily on him. I see a comment in there by It's Coop says Heisman White.
Yeah.
You know, people call him Jaheim, all that, right? And that's all cool and fair. And I do think he's that good. I actually like Jalen. I actually like the pickup of Jalen Knight. And he was injured last year, but the year before that, he ran for nearly 800 yards at SMU, in a pretty good conference in the American, right? So I think he's got the potential to be really good. I thought that was a very underappreciated pickup in the spring portal window, and we've heard really good things about Dior Hubard and him, how good he looked in the spring. Now, can that carry over? We'll see. But rumor has it that they paid him quite a bit of NIL money to keep him. That's how much confidence they have that he's going to help them win games. So I trust that. And, again, Sincere Bowers, Cannon Katzer, we don't know what to expect from those guys. And I did consider Ty Edwards and him not being there potentially. But I feel so confident in that room that I went ahead and gave him an A anyway. So I probably would have went A+ with him, but I still give him an A.
And I probably would have went B+. I think with Edwards. And I'll say that you and I completely agree. I think that I'm maybe just a little bit more hesitant on the Hubbard experience and Knighton coming off an injury, right? I think we probably could say that's probably where our, I don't know the disagreement's the right word, but we're kind of missing the mark with each other a little bit. Mm-hmm. I'm thrilled about Jalen Knighton as an addition to the team. I'm just saying that if he is my backup, if Edwards is out and Jalen Knighton is my backup, I'm concerned and I'm just a tad bit nervous. That I'm a little bit nervous that he missed a large majority of the season. And so does he come back and not miss a beat? It's possible. I would just feel better and probably would have bumped this group up a little bit if we would have saw some more production last year. But can I also say too, Couz, that I don't think we really worry about Rich Rodriguez and running backs. Right, like
we're right. Yeah, we don't.
So that's an area that, even though I gave him a B, I didn't give him an F. So right. I want people to be nice about it. But and I get all that. My biggest concern is just the experience behind Jaheim. If Edwards is out, I'm concerned.
That's fair. And I think I got the mic volume issue fixed for those of you in the chat who tell me I had low mic volume. I think I figured out the problem. Let me know if it was corrected. And thank you, Appalachia Africa Twin, for the super chat. He says, show Couz some love and share his channel/videos and like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you, Appalachia Africa Twin, for the super chat and the support. Just like always, man, I really appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and jump over to the next position group. We're staying on that side of the ball, and we're sticking with skill positions. We're going wide receivers. What you got?
Yeah, B minus. B minus, just because there's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack with these guys. I mean, I think outside of offensive line, there's a ton. There's a lot of moving parts. I really, really, really like Cam Vaughn. You know, I don't know that needs said, but he was really successful. And I've talked several times about, you feel pretty good that he's going to be able to lead this team, especially knowing how this scheme is going to work, right? You know, he's not afraid to be hard edge. You know what he's going to get out of his, so the whole thing makes sense to me, and I'm comfortable with him. I'd say the same thing with even somebody like a Jared Bowie. He's maybe not going to be a wide receiver 1 or a 2, but he's somebody that late in the season last year, especially in their bowl game, their last regular season game and their bowl game, really took that next step. And then I'm intrigued to see what you get out of Rodney Gallagher. I actually mentioned him the other day as somebody that I thought was an ideal fit here. And then I look at this list, Couz. I mean, Orrin Singleton, I think he can be good. Christian Hamilton out of North Carolina. How does Logan Ramper translate from Slippery Rock to the Big 12? Everything we saw of him said that the size, the strength on him, but again, a question mark of how it translates. And then the X factor for me here is Jaden Bray.
Yep.
We thought going into last year he would be that guy. He's big, he's strong, he's physical. Got injured last year, didn't play, but is it me, or does this offense scream Jaden Bray? So and I'm anticipating to see what he does, because there's a lot of moving parts, but because I like Cam Vaughn being the leader of that group, I go B minus.
We're pretty close here. I've got B. I just went straight B. Actually, I don't think I went any pluses or minuses. Just to spill the beans a little bit. I don't think I just kind of went straight grades here, but for the most part. But yeah, I really like Cam Vaughn. I think he's a superstar in the making.
Yeah.
I think if Jaden Bray can stay healthy, I think he can be a superstar. I mean, we saw 2 years ago when Oklahoma State came to Morgantown. I think it was in Morgantown. I don't remember. Nonetheless, 2 years ago, we saw what Jaden Bray could do against the Mountaineers when he pretty much ate our defense alive. And then Neil Brown goes out and gets him out of the portal, right? Pretty smart move. Let's go get the guy who killed us. But very good football player, and very good from everything I've heard from Oklahoma State folks. He's a good person, a great teammate, does everything the right way, or at least tries to. If he can just stay healthy, that's the big concern with him. He's had injury issues throughout his career, had him at Oklahoma State, and they've continued at West Virginia. But I like him. I'm with you. I think this offense is a great fit for Gallagher. Obviously, I'd love to see Jeffrey Weimer, the Idaho State transfer, if he can get his eligibility. I really like him on tape. I watched some of his highlights. He's a really good football player, and I think he would be a huge addition to the team. I don't think enough people are talking about Preston Fox. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not. Will Preston be a number 1 or number 2 receiver on the team? I doubt it. But his leadership in that locker room, to me, is immeasurable.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to show them the ropes of, hey, this is what it means to be a Mountaineer. This is what it means to play Pitt. This is what fans expect. This is where you go. This is where you go eat. This is where you go do this. That stuff matters, right?
Yeah.
He can kind of just be that guy to show them what it's like, show them the ropes a little bit of what it means to be a Mountaineer. And I think that means a lot. And which we'll get to that later, but I also think he can be a big factor on special teams. But I really like this room. I actually think it might be one of the more underrated rooms on this football team.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with a wide receiver room, and to be honest, as I might should have just given him a C, because the wide receiver room at West Virginia, they're not going to get a lot of action. because they're going to run the ball 60% of the time, probably. So
Yeah.
I might should have downgraded them to a C just for that alone. But I do like the talent in that room,
Yeah.
and I like it even more if Jeffrey Weimer plays. I'm not sure I would have graded him differently, but because I don't know that I expect him to start necessarily. But I do think that's a good room, and I like it. I think they're underrated.
Yeah, Weimer being out didn't really affect me. Although I do think he can help the room. I just don't know that he moved the needle for me in terms of bumping a grade.
Right.
Um, I'll say I really like what they did with this room in terms of spreading out some guys that maybe had some size, some guys that maybe had some speed, some slot guys, some outside guys. I thought they did a really good job with that. But you make a good point. We'll see how this offense translates with the wide receivers and how much action they did get. But it's the same song and dance. There's so many. And how does this play itself out? Who separates themselves? But yeah, for me, I did add plus and minuses into mine. A B minus was just because I do like some of those pieces, especially some of those that stayed. Rodney Gallagher and Bray as
Mm-hmm.
potential. And then I like the guys that were able to come in specifically from Jacksonville State that
Yep.
know this system, they know the scheme. And you talked about Preston Fox being able to say, go here, stay here, don't go there. This is there. These guys are going to be able to do that thing, but on the field, right? Because
Yep.
of being able to know the Jacksonville State scheme and that system. So to me, I thought that was a solid grade for them.
Yep. Yep. I agree with that 100%. Next, we're going to stick to that side of the ball and go ahead and go to tight ends. I think last year we kind of combined tight ends with wide receivers, but I thought they deserved their own grade. I
Yeah.
think so. What do you got? Where do you have the tight ends at?
Yeah, because I went again. I added plus and minuses. Um, I went C minus.
Okay.
This is admittedly it's an area where um, I've got a little bit of concern. Can I say that I'm also not sure how much action this group gets in totality wise, right? I mean, I don't think we're going to see. I don't know that we're going to see a tight end get 5, 6, 700 yards receiving or anything
Mm-hmm.
like that, right? So um, I thought Jacob Barrick was a nice addition, came over from Jacksonville State. I know some people say, what do you mean? He's a blocker. Yeah, you need that in this system.
Yep.
Can we say Grayson Barnes from Northern Illinois transfers probably the prize possession there? 31 catches last year. I think that was second on the team at Northern Illinois. He did have 4 touchdowns and like 340 receiving yards. So there's the guy that probably, if you're looking for a receiver out of this group,
Mm-hmm.
um, I know a lot of people were going to point to Ryan Ward, the transfer from Carolina, but again, 4 appearances last year, red shirted, was semi highly recruited out of high school, but the talent's there, we think, but we really didn't see it at Carolina just because of the limited action. Um, I think people might hear a C minus and think it's been unbelievably disrespectful to the group. What are you getting here, right?
Yep.
A blocker and some potential. So C minus.
Yeah. I put them down for a C. I actually came close to going with a D. But as I researched them a little more, I really like I think Grayson Barnes. I'm kind of basing this on potential because I really like what I see with Grayson Barnes. He caught 31 balls for 338 yards and 4 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
I've seen he's a former wide receiver, so I know he has those wide receiver skills. And when you look at the rest of the room, you mentioned Jacob Barrick. Greg Generos is still on the roster. The JUCO transfer that Coach Brown brought in a year ago. They had high expectations for him last year, if I recall.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, it never really
Yeah.
panned out. I don't know if did he need that year to adjust to playing at the Power 4 level? Was it something? I don't know. I don't know what it was. Maybe he shines in this new offensive system. I don't know. But I'm concerned a little bit about this room. So, but I did go with at least a C, just because I do think, how much are they really going to throw the ball to the tight end anyway?
Right.
And I do think They've got some good blockers. You mentioned Barrick and his experience as a blocker. Again, he's coming over from Jacksonville State, so he'll know how to block, where to block, who to block, all of that because of playing in Rich Rod's system, right?
Yeah.
So I, I gave him a C. I think C's fair. I didn't feel like it was too harsh. I also didn't feel like it was too, pumping sunshine either. So I
Yeah.
just kind of went. I just kind of went middle of the road. If I kind of used the approach where they always said, if you don't know the answer, pick C. That's kind of what I.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of what I
Yeah.
did here,
Yeah.
to be
Well,
honest.
I mean, to give you an idea of and we'll say this and look back on it, Grayson Barnes will have 900 yards receiving. Who knows?
Right.
But to give you an idea where the emphasis probably lies here, Rich Rod wanted to bring a tight end who was a blocker with him from Jacksonville State that I pulled his bio up just for fun, and underneath his bio it says used primarily in a blocking role.
Yep.
And kind of tells you all you need to know, right?
Yep.
And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't know that but knowing that it's difficult for me just to give such an extreme highly grade, right? So I think we're kind of on the same page.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Let's go ahead and jump over to standing outside the ball. And this is the position group that I think all of us fans have the biggest. Everybody, there's just the biggest question mark around offensive line. There's only a couple guys on the offensive line that have any significant snaps, at least that I can remember. That's Walter Youngbear, who came over from Tulsa, and I think it was I don't know if I wrote his name down, but the young man that came over from Carson Lee, I believe, was that his name?
Yeah, from Tennessee.
Yep. I think he's has some experience at the lower level, and then of course Michael Clay from North Alabama as well. But all of those guys did it at the G5 or FCS level. Can it translate? I'm concerned. When they start playing Power 4 competition week in, week out, will it translate? It's always, Xavier Bosley is one who transferred over last year from Jacksonville State, who's still on the roster. I kind of had expectations for him. I thought he would be more of a contributor last year. Didn't turn out that way. So, maybe he steps up and maybe this year he gets more snaps and plays a bigger role. I don't know. But again, there's just so many guys with so little experience. It's hard to grade them very high. So I gave him a D. That's where I'm at. What you got?
Yeah, I went C minus.
Okay.
So
not much better.
Yeah, and again, if there's a group where we look back and say, yeah, you missed that one, didn't you? This has the potential, but at the same time, if there's a group where you can look back and say, man, y'all nailed that, this one's it as well. Does that make sense?
It could be.
Does that make sense? Like this one is so one way or the other to me, that it's tough to be kind of right down. I feel like I got a pretty good idea this is where it's going to be. It's so extreme. So when I looked at this group, here's what I did, Couz. I looked at where they feel comfortable, and then I tried to branch out. And so under the comfortable list, I put Landon Livingston, okay, who's likely going to start at center. And then I stopped. Because of the question mark. I mean, we're talking so many new people. Now, I could tell you that Michael Clay from North Alabama, who I will say is according to PFF, one of the top 4 returning tackles in the Big 12. So there's some promise there.
Yeah.
Tykees Crawford from Arkansas, I could say you might feel good there. Now, the probably the other one alongside Livingston is Walter Youngbear, just because of his starts throughout his career. But it's safe to say that outside of Landon Livingston, you're going to be new all across the board.
Yep.
And because I have to be honest, new system, new scheme, new coach, new quarterback, new offensive line,
And new offensive line coach.
a new offensive line coach.
Yep. Who I know who I know very little about other than what research I've done.
This could be something that goes unbelievably right or unbelievably wrong.
Yeah.
And I think anybody that says they have the answer is fibbing to you. I don't believe that. There's so many guys that are new, that are plugging in. My concern level is extremely high here.
Yeah. Me too. Me too. Now I've heard good things about some of the P4 transfers they brought over, like Kimo Makaniole,
Yeah.
who used to be a defensive lineman at LSU and has moved back to the offensive line. Tykeus Crawford from Oklahoma.
Josh A. Sosa from Oklahoma.
Yep. Josh A. Sosa. Yep. Malik Ogbo from Tennessee. There's a lot of talent, but of those guys I named, hardly any of them have significant experience.
Yeah.
They've played some games, they've played some snaps, but not a lot. You know what I mean? It's been in spot duty or backup duty. Now, they might be perfect for what Coach Rod and Coach Bicknell want to do. And they might end up being one of the best offensive lines in the Big 12 when it's all said and done. But, offensive line requires you to gel together.
Yeah.
Probably more so than any position group in football. And can this group do that when a lot of them are just now getting there?
Yeah.
A lot of them didn't even go through spring practice, and that's concerning to me. So that's the reason I didn't grade them. I didn't grade them a D because I don't think the guys are terrible. It's just because can they gel in time? And there's so many unknowns. I don't see how, and there's less returning production at that spot. Even when you look at the schools they played at before.
Yeah.
There's just so many guys that haven't played a ton of snaps. It's hard to grade them any higher than that to me.
It is. I mean, when you look at it, you got Oklahoma, NC State, Texas, Tennessee, Arkansas. So those are some big name programs that you're getting some guys in. But again, it's just the production's not there. Now, hey, was it because Texas is loading up with 4 and 5 stars, right? That's okay. Tennessee likely could be as well. I understand that. Oklahoma, no difference there. So I do believe the talent's there. But you said it. You're looking for one specific group that is extremely important here to mesh, and you're not looking for 4 or 5 guys for one spot or even maybe 2. Outside of Livingston in the middle, you're building, and so how quickly does it work? It could go unbelievably right. It could go unbelievably wrong. So that's kind of why I went the direction I did.
And to be fair, Jonathan, Landon Livingston has started one game in his career. One game.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't have. He has. He's in He's in the triple digits, I guess, 100 and some snaps in his career. It's not a ton. Not a ton.
Yeah.
So is he even a sure thing?
Yeah. There's a lot of questions all across the board.
Yep. And that's why if any players are watching, I don't mean this. It's not saying you're not any good. I just don't know about you yet. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to see you play. And what we need to do, Jonathan, which we didn't do last year, is do this again at the end of the season and compare them.
Yeah. 100%.
We need to do that this year.
And we both even started saying, by at least for me, 90% of my grades here, the overwhelming issue is the unknown. So I'm trying to take in what little bit of sample size I have and break it down into how is this going to translate to being a full-time starter, to playing at the Power 5 level. You're in the Big 12 week in, week out. So just trying to correlate all that together. But we're going to do that.
Yeah.
We'll 100% do that. We'll see how it works.
Yep. All right. Before we go over to the defensive side of the ball, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of the show and the folks who designed the website Jonathan and I are running over at WVSportsChat.com. You see the WV Sports Chat logo in my background. Jonathan, myself, and the writers we have been doing a lot of work over there. The website is growing rapidly. We appreciate all of you who have supported us. We ask that you continue to do so. Let your family and friends know about WVSportsChat.com. But the Appalachia Digital are the folks who designed that website. And I feel like they did a really good job. It's good and clean. It's easy to use. The tabs are set up nicely. If you need a website design, whether you're starting a podcast, whether you own a business, whatever, Appalachia Digital can help you out. Go check them out, appalachiadigital.com/Couz. That lets them know I sent you. They'll know that you heard about them through me. Go check them out. If you need SEO services to get your current website performing better, they can do that too. So go check them out, appalachiadigital.com. Let them know Couz sent you. And I also want to thank them for supporting what we're doing here on the show and over at the website at WVSportsChat.com. All right. And again, for those watching on X, please come over to the YouTube channel once the show's over. And I didn't hear anybody answering the comment. Am I sounding louder now that I adjusted my volume on my mic? Jonathan, can you tell the difference?
Yeah, I can tell. You're louder.
Okay, good.
Yeah, you're good.
I saw one person say they thought they were going deaf for a minute.
Yeah, I can tell. You didn't seem quiet to me, but now that you've bumped it, you definitely seem louder.
Yeah,
So.
I did a solo video the other day, and I'm listening back to it. And I'm going, man, was something wrong with my mic? But I mean, I was like, well, I'll just turn my volume up. Maybe I was just too far away from it or something, right?
Yeah.
But when I saw people putting it in the comments section of the chat, I thought, man, I got to fix this. But anyway, all right. And apparently, I had bumped the volume button at some point by accident and didn't know it. It happens. All right, let's go ahead and jump over to the defensive side of the ball, man. Let's go ahead and start with the defensive line. What do you got? And I'm before we do this, let you and I decide: are we including bandits in this, or are we including them with the linebackers?
So I included mine in linebackers.
Okay, fair enough.
I included mine in the linebackers.
Are you including Braden Siders as a linebacker or a defensive lineman?
Linebacker. Because
okay.
because I lumped bandits together.
Okay.
I just lumped him in that group with linebackers.
Got it. All right. I wanted to preface it because some sites have Jamoy Robinson listed as a bandit. Some have him listed as a D end. Some have Siders listed as a bandit. Some have him listed as a D end. So I wasn't 100% sure. But I'll follow your lead on this.
Yeah. So for me, I did Robinson as a defensive lineman. I put Siders as a bandit and grouped bandits and linebackers together.
Okay. All right.
Again, want to start out just because we're kind of halftime here, just coming into the third quarter. I graded these positions. I graded them based off of the 4 guys not eligible. I went with a C-.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
I think you and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Go ahead.
Well, we can't ignore it. It starts and it ends with Jamory Robinson. It just does. What's his status? Because they brought him in specifically to lead a unit that they need. They need to be good. Now, do I like Eddie Kelly? Absolutely. Played all 13 games last season. He had 20 tackles in Missouri, and that's a tough conference. The SEC conference, arguably the best conference, right? Devin Grant, a guy that I really like, was a lower level Incarnate Word, 13 starts, 31 tackles. But
7.5 sacks as well.
Right. How does that translate? Again, I feel like a broken record here, but I want to know, how does that translate to this level week in, week out, when you're going up against, Arizona State, you're going up against Iowa State, you're going up against Kansas State. How does that translate, right? Eddie V, I'm glad he's back. But how back is he, right? I mean, missed some time, obviously, last year. I'm hearing really good things about Nate Gabriel. Wrote about him on a Q&A. Some people I talked to in Morgantown say they're thrilled to see how he's progressed. Because there's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of questions. And so, yeah, C- for me. Eddie Kelly, if you don't have Jamory Robinson, I see Eddie Kelly, and then unfortunately, I don't see anybody that just jumps out at me that says, all right, ringer, all right, dependent, all right, week in, week out type guy. For me, I have a little bit of concern there, which is why I went with the C minus.
This is the one position group you and I are probably going to disagree about the most, and I think we did last year on this group, if I'm not mistaken.
You might be right.
I actually got this group with a B.
Okay.
Okay, and if Jamoy Robinson, with an asterisk, if he's playing, I got him as an A.
Now,
I
see, I jumped from a C minus, believe it or not, I jumped from a C minus all the way up to a solid B if Jamori Robinson's
okay,
playing. I think he's
that good.
that good.
Okay,
That
but
good.
here, see, you talked about the question marks, and there's question marks across the board, every position.
Sure. Sure.
But I think this is the position on the defensive side anyway that has the least amount of question marks because I think Eddie V. I heard him on the Three Guys show the other day. He seems to really, really be taking to Rich Rod's style of coaching. It fits his personality. It kind of fits the culture of how he grew up in Finland. He seems very excited to play under Rich Rod. I think we could potentially, Neil Brown talked about how great a Sonny Redwood could be, and unfortunately, he's had to deal with some injuries off and on, and we've never really been able to see him blossom. Maybe Rich Rod's coaching style and Zach Alley's defense, and maybe that brings the best out in him. I really like what potential he has. Hammond Russell's coming back. We saw good things out of him a year ago. He was getting a lot of snaps last year. They're returning more experience at that position group than arguably any position group on the team.
Mm.
With Russell, Vestarinnan, Redwood, Corey McIntyre's played a few snaps. Not to mention, the guys that they brought in like Devin Grant that we've talked about, Eddie Kelly, guys with experience. Eddie Kelly, like you mentioned, played in the SEC. So I actually like the
Okay.
defensive line. Now, here's the problem, though. Here's the reason why I bump him down to a B without Jamori, and it's because of the pass rush. To
Mhm.
me, if Jamori Robinson's not able to play, you're going to have to get your pressure from somewhere else. You're probably going to have to get it from your bandit spot. You may have to get it from blitzing linebackers, disguise some corner and safety blitzes. Not saying any of these guys can't get to the quarterback, but I don't think any of them are going to do it as prolifically as Jamori Robinson can.
Right.
So therefore, I think they're going to have to be. I think they'll still be solid and still be good, but I don't think they'll be great as a position group without Jamori Robinson. But maybe they'll prove me wrong. But I got them from a B without Jamori Robinson and an A with Jamori Robinson.
Okay.
Either way it goes, I actually like this position group. I actually think
Yeah.
they can be solid.
Yeah, and I think they can be too. I just when you talk about, I would understand Russell. He's a senior, has been around, has grown in the program, even though it's a little bit of a different program today. Um, but Eddie V, I mean, two games last year, was injured again. It,
That's fair.
that's where I get a little bit nervous.
How it affect him mentally is the big thing.
Yeah, and if Robinson is out, right? Eddie V is going to get a lot of snaps anyway, but I mean, how good? How much can he go? Is he a little timid? Or I'd say the same. I said the same thing about Jalen Knighton. Um, so it's no offense to Eddie V. Said the exact same thing about Knighton. It's when I start looking at production and I start looking at what they did for me last year. I held back a little bit because of injuries, because that question mark gets even bigger to me. Now, he could come out and be completely healed. There's no hesitation, and that's certainly the hope, right? But that's probably the main reason I held back just a little bit, because I'm looking at guys like an Eddie V that I'm really counting on that just missed pretty much the entire season last
And
year.
that's
So
fair. That's fair.
held me back just a little bit.
And there's no
Now,
that's
if
fair.
he's healthy, he is somebody. I mean, all of a sudden, the flip side of that is if you get a healthy Eddie V, Eddie Kelly, Hammond Russell, Jamori Robinson is, now I think I'm back up to your A level if all things go well.
Okay. Good deal. All right. Let's go ahead and jump to linebacker, which also will include the bandit position. And I think I'm going to alter my grade as you're talking because I was initially going to include them as part of the D line.
Yeah.
So go ahead and talk though. What you got?
Yeah. So enough. I don't know. I don't know if you want to call it negative, but enough of the bad grades. Actually went again. You know what? I actually might bump this group just a bit. Now that I'm thinking about them a little bit more. I started out actually Couz at a B plus. You know what? I'm going to stay there. B plus. Um, I'll tell you why. Return Reed Carrico. We know what he did. Fifth leading tackler last year. 54 tackles, 17 solo. Couz Reed Carrico had 16 tackles against Baylor. Okay, we know what he can do. Um, Man, I'm thrilled about Ben Bogle from Southern Illinois. This is somebody, 12 games. He started the last 10 games. Now, check this out. Because he started the last 10 games of the season, had 87 tackles and 16 and a half for loss.
Yeah.
We talked about that whenever they signed him, 5.5 sacks. I'll tell you somebody that I'm really, really excited about, Chase Wilson.
Yep.
At
He's a dude.
Colorado State. Oh,
He's
he's
a
a dude,
dude.
man. Started all 13 games last year, Coos. Second on the team, 98 tackles. 39 of them were solo. You know what? You know what impressed me? He had 3 games with 10 tackles. They went. You want to when we talk about what have you done for me? Who has it been against? He had 8 tackles and an interception at Texas.
It's pretty impressive.
It's pretty darn impressive. And then finally, I would just say you talked about Braden Siders. 91 tackles in his career, 14 sacks, and 23 and a half for loss. There is a lot of production there, and a lot of it that when I've started separate these, I've talked about where did the production come from? Who did it come against? This group has a overall good mix about some solid production against some high level talent. So yeah, B plus for me, and I almost went A, but B plus.
All right. I'm going B minus.
Okay.
I originally had this group as a C. Actually, you know what? I'm going with a straight B. Heck with the minus. I'm going straight B.
Come on up to B plus while you're at it.
No, I ain't going that far because I actually was at a C. But since we decided to include the Bandits in there, I'm really, really high on Braden Siders.
Yeah.
I'm watching his highlights. The guy plays with an absolute just nonstop motor. I think he's a perfect fit for a Rich Rod team. He's hard edge. I think he's going to be a good fit for what Zach Alley likes to do and being aggressive and multiple. I really like him. The guys, we like you said, you mentioned Carrico, Ben Cutter's back. He has 2 years of experience under his belt in playing in the Big 12. Ben Bogle. I mean, just go down the list, man. Is there anybody in that linebacker core that's going to be a draft pick? Maybe, maybe. But I don't know that there's anybody that's a guaranteed draft pick, right? We don't have a Tony Fields or
Right.
any of the Nick Witkowski but you look at the group as a whole, you have a lot of really, really good football players. You talked about Chase Wilson. Field still had him as a third team All Big 12 guy preseason.
Yeah, he did.
Really high on him. Chase Wilson is a good football player coming from Colorado State. So I like the room. I like what they've added in that room. And they've also brought in some young players like Ashton Woods out of North Carolina.
Yeah.
Who's talented, who was a 4-star recruit 2 years ago at Chapel Hill. So they're also trying to. I think they're also trying to set that position up for the future too. I don't expect him to play a ton this year, but who knows? He might surprise us. But I like the experience combined with the ability in that room, and so I'm giving the linebacker group a B.
Yeah, and we're splitting hairs at that point. B plus. Ashton Woods is intriguing to me because of the size, 6'3", 225. But again, somebody that's shown the potential to be good out of high school, was highly recruited. But I think what I like about this group is that you're not solely dependent on him being the guy, right? I mean, you've got a good overall mix of some players that you can throw in there. I'd even mention John Lewis, UNLV, played at Mississippi State, was there for a little bit. I mean, when you look at the totality of this group, it's a really, really good mix. And
I completely forgot about. I can't believe I forgot about him. Yeah, John Lewis.
Yeah,
that's another one.
6'3".
Caden Bizer's back.
Yeah, I mean Lewis 6'2", almost 250 pounds. You want to talk about this guy that's going to play physical. So, but again, you sprinkle in guys that have had that success, some Cutters, some Bogle, Carricos, and then you mix them in with some guys like a Woods or a Lewis that see what you have there, you feel pretty good about this group.
Yeah.
I do, at least.
Yep. And I apologize to John Lewis for forgetting. It's just there's so many new guys. It's hard to keep up with them, Jonathan.
There's a lot. There's a lot. That's for sure.
It makes, to be honest, it makes shows like this hard to do. It's a complete crapshoot. All right, but it's fun.
It is.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about this. Let's go to the secondary now. Again, you and I we didn't discuss this beforehand, so we're making decisions on the fly. Do you want to include? Did you include safeties and corners together, or did you split them up?
I split them up.
Good. So did I.
I split them up.
Okay, let's do cornerbacks first. What you got?
My highest grade.
Really?
My highest grade.
Okay.
I went with an A.
Cool. I like it.
And that should be music. That should be music to people's ears that have followed West Virginia football over the last however many years.
Unless you think we're dumb, and then you'll say, "No, man, there was good."
Yeah. Well, I'm not a talent evaluator. To me, this was an area that there's a complete roster turnover. Right? We've talked about it ad nauseum. But you just felt like this was a point where Rich Rodriguez and then Zach Alley just felt like they had to address, right? And they got two really, really, really good ones, Michael Coach Jr. and Jordan Scruggs, because these guys were two of the highest graded PFF, which you and I, probably you more than me, put a lot of stock into what they say and how they evaluate players. And I'm right up there close to you. They were, I think, tied for first and third or second on the PFF preseason returning Big 12 corners. Preseason all Big 12 for Phil Steele, Michael Coates was. Really good 13 games, led the team in passes defended, 17, 4 interceptions. He had 41 tackles, so he's not afraid to mix it up. Scruggs comes up from South Alabama, started 9 games, almost 70 tackles, 33 of those unassisted. And then you get into even guys like Devontae Golden Nelson, who maybe didn't have the success intercepting the football, but he experienced, right? 12 games, 33 tackles, a tie cruncher out of West Florida, somebody they felt like they snuck in here kind of late. There's a lot to like in this group, a lot to like. So I win A.
I like it.
And then it's not all doom and gloom over here.
That's right. And then you add in freshman additions like Shamarius Bomar, who I like, Dwayne Galloway, who I like.
Yeah.
I like the sophomores of the Keyshawn Robinson, a West Virginia kid who was part of Neil Brown's roster a year ago.
Jason Chambers, Appalachian State, who comes over with the new corners coach. So
correct.
The connection there. There's a lot to like, Couz, about this group.
And I didn't go A, but I did go B. Again, Michael Coach Jr., Phil Steele preseason first team all Big 12. Just, I mean, you read out his numbers. They speak for themselves. Really good football player. You mentioned Chambers. You mentioned all those guys, and I really like those guys. I like the mix of experience with young talent.
Yeah. And
I like the way they balanced it out. I think they'll be able to play man or zone, which I like. And I just really like that room. So I'm going – it's not my highest graded. Still not giving him an A like I did the running back room. But I will go with a B for that room.
Okay. And completely fair. There, again, I'm just over and over here, but there's a lot of like there. There's a lot of size.
Yeah.
There's physicality. There's speed.
My fear is I think I've been bitten a couple times.
Right.
I mean, we thought last year a couple of guys that came over were going to be really good, and they weren't.
Yeah.
So does that happen again, or I don't know.
But in fairness, you had some guys that were productive coming, and this is where I'm probably giving a little bit of leap of faith with Zach Alley here.
Yeah.
And again, I know he's not coaching safeties in particular. I know he's not coaching cornerbacks in particular, but he's overseeing the guys that evaluated them, right? And so I'm a little bit leaning on him here for this. And spoiler alert, I feel really good about, to be quite honest with you, the entire defensive secondary. I really do.
So where you got? Speaking of which, where you got the safeties at?
So I went with an A again.
Wow. Okay.
And there's a couple reasons why. Let me start here. I am really excited about Fred Perry and Derek Carter as players, and I'm excited about them coming over from Jacksonville State.
Okay.
Um, these are just guys that know majority of the staff, right? They're going to know what's been implemented to a degree. There could be a little bit of a change up here with Allie, but they've got a pretty good idea, right? Um, that gives me a lot of positivity. Jordan Walker out of Chattanooga Couz is a player.
Yeah.
That young man is an absolute player. Darian Lewis from Akron, who
Yep.
played with Devontae Golden Nelson, was extremely much like Golden Nelson, was extremely experienced and proficient at Akron. I like that. And then I like what they did with, say, Zay Jennings back again.
Yep.
Tarnu is back.
Yep. Playing,
Um,
and if I'm not mistaken, he's playing his. He'll be going back to playing his natural position.
yeah. If this group, if Justin Harrington is eligible, this is my highest graded group. It's I would go A+.
I'm really high on Harrington, man. I
Me
really.
me me too. Me
The
too.
guy was a starter at Oklahoma until he got injured.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their first year in the SEC. You don't under Brent Venables. I mean, what's that tell you?
He can play.
He's 6'3", 217. He's also going to be like 25 years old. He's a grown man out there, and they need that. That could go a long way. Again, this is all based on him being eligible. So I like that room as well. I didn't quite go as high as you did. I'm going with a B here. I do like the fact that Tarnu's will be at safety. I like the fact he's coming back. He has the benefit of not only knowing what Rich Rod expects, but also knowing the ins and outs of playing at West Virginia, right? So he's best of both worlds because he was on the roster last year. I love Harrington. Derek Carter, I think, is an underrated player. I think Israel Boyce is another one who we saw some flashes of last year as a freshman. We heard
Yeah.
Neil Brown talk highly of him. We've heard other people talk highly of him. I think he's got the potential to be a really good player as a sophomore. You mentioned Zay Jennings.
Coos, how
And
about William Davis from Virginia Union? Going to be a senior next year.
yeah,
56 tackles last year, 11 and a half tackles for loss. And this goes back to what I've said a couple times. So when I'm looking at position groups, if that's not the sole guy that I'm dependent on, right? And I'm just, if I strike gold, that's just cherry on top, right?
yep,
Because I feel like versus if I'm looking at, and it's no disrespect to Davis, I'm just using that for illustration. If that's the guy that I'm saying, all right, he's my number one, I'm saying, how does Virginia Union translate to Big 12 football to this level? But if I'm throwing him out there with some of these other guys that we've talked about, I'm so much more comfortable. Um, there's so much again to like about this group because of the totality of it, the experience of it, and the icing on on the cake being some of these guys that played at maybe some lower level schools that were productive.
mm-hmm.
Now they get to see how they compare against some of these guys. So yeah, cornerbacks and safeties, I really really like.
So it sounds like you like the defense because you gave the linebackers a high score.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I really like what they did because I felt like the productivity was a little bit more, right?
yeah,
A little bit more. Defensive line, I'm a little concerned about, but
right.
linebackers back. Um,
I like.
I feel like they just addressed so much experience and productivity, and mixed it all well. You know.
Yep, I like it. All right, let's do special teams. I don't even know if we did this last year.
I don't know that we did.
Let's go ahead and do it. They deserve to be talked about. So what's your overall special teams grade?
B+.
Okay.
What's not to love about Oliver Straw?
Wait a minute. Did I give my grade on safeties? I don't think I did I?
B.
I did. Yeah, I went B. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I went B plus on this. Now, to be fair, I didn't get into returners, anything like that. I just did kickers, punters. Oliver Straw, what's not to like? Cade Hensley out of Coastal Carolina, 16 and 19. We'll take that, right? 49 yard is a long. Um, Made all 45 of his extra points. You know, I'm probably not looking for somebody to start making 62 game winners, 60 yard game winner. I'm just looking for somebody that can put that ball through the upright, be pretty consistent doing it. So I don't want to be short and simple, but B plus.
I use the old, if you don't know what to do, pick a C here, because I don't know anything. I mean, I've seen Cade Hensley's numbers, obviously, and he seems like a good kicker. 19 attempts is not a ton, so that makes me a little nervous. I love Oliver Straw, so I honestly should probably bump him up to a B just because of him. But let's be honest, how many opportunities is he going to get to punt the football?
Hopefully not many.
We can expect Preston Fox will likely be one of the returners, probably. I like him back there. Outside of that, though, I don't know who it's going to be. And because of that, West Virginia has struggled so much in the return game over the last, decade,
Yeah.
that it's hard. At least, they've had some, don't get me wrong, they've had some flashes, but overall, they have not been consistent at all in the return game. And that
Yeah.
goes back to Dana Holgerson's days in Morgantown.
And in fairness, I didn't really do much with the returners,
Right.
just because I don't quite know. I knew who's coming back, maybe what Rich Rod or Neil Brown did, but who knows what Rich Rod is
Right.
looking
And that's
for
fair.
there. But I agree with you on only 19 attempts for Hensley. Again, was that more Coastal Carolina? I'd like to know their analytics. Did they go for it a lot on fourth down?
Right.
Who knows there? Um, 49 yards is a long. If I'm being nitpicky here over kickers, maybe would have liked to seen that up around 52, 53.
Yeah.
But again, did Coastal Carolina go for it a lot? Who
Yeah.
knows?
Here's what will help me bump my grade up from a C to a B or an A, and it has nothing to do with the players. If Pat Kirkland, who's the special teams coordinator, will just kick the freaking ball into the end zone and
Yep.
not try to play the analytics and kick it into the corner at the 1 yard line and get penalty after penalty after penalty, I'll automatically bump him up a point.
Yeah.
That drove me insane
Yeah.
with Coach Brown.
Yeah.
Coach Brown would overthink himself. So he would it's almost like he was trying too hard.
Yeah. Just kick
Kick
it.
the football, man. It's
Yeah.
not rocket science.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. That would be an A plus 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 plus. If we could just get somebody just to kick it to the darn band and be done with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and a lot of that I put a lot of that on the coaching because I think we had guys that could do it, and I think a lot of times they were being told not to.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe it was just Coach Brown covering for him. I don't know, but because we heard him talk about it, well, I was trying to pin him deep, and just kick the football, man.
Just kick it.
Nobody
Yeah.
else is doing that. Why you got to overthink it here?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
to be honest, I think that was a lot of Neil's problem. I think he overthink things too much a lot of times
Yeah.
in a lot of his decisions. But anyway, that is what it is. All right, so I'm giving special teams a C just because there's so many unknowns. I love Oliver Straw, but everything else is a huge question mark. And Oliver Straw is probably going to punt the football less than any team in the country. So, I'm not sure how much that's even going to matter. But
Well, I think we were pretty close across the board.
we were pretty close. We disagreed probably the most on the O line or the D line, rather. I would say was probably where we had the most variance. But I thought
Yeah.
we were pretty close. But it'll be interesting when we do this again at the end of the season, where we land.
And it felt really weird for me to give my two highest grades to the defensive secondary.
Yeah.
That felt odd. But I like the room. And again, I guess we should just squeeze it in one more time. It's just so many unknowns, man. So many moving parts to this. Not and can we say too, not just from the players, but from the coaches as well.
Yeah.
It's all new. I mean, does it get implemented properly? Does it get correlated properly? Does it get messaged properly? Does it get received? There's just so much there, you know.
Yeah, I want to address this comment on YouTube for those of you listening. A listener named Earth Ether says, I think they were talking about the heat and guys. I'm assuming they were talking about guys cramping up. But it says it was extremely hot today, black flag conditions. So hope he doesn't push too hard, but enough that players know how to hydrate. I was thinking the same thing until I listened to Dusty Rutledge, Coach Rod's chief of staff, on the Three Guys Before the Game podcast today. And he talked about how hot it would get when they used to coach at Louisiana Monroe. I'm not going to try to explain it the way he did because it was Dusty Rutledge and only he can explain it. But man, it was hot. And then Coach Rod today in his pressure talked about how it's not even as near as hot as they were accustomed to at Jacksonville State down in the those guys that play football down in the South. He would have to give them. I mean, keep in mind, Rich Rod only practices for an hour and a half to 2 hours at a time.
What did he say? Like 3?
They were getting 3 breaks. He was having to divide. They were getting 2 breaks. He was having to divide practice up into thirds. At West Virginia, he's only giving them 1 break.
And like only Rich Rod can say it. What was his line today? They could go in the shade and eat popsicles if they wanted to.
Yeah, something like that.
So, yeah,
for 5 minutes though. That's all.
It has been hot, at least where we're at, you and I, Southern West Virginia. But I don't know about you. I'll have family come up from Georgia and stuff like that. I'm over here wiping sweat off my brow nonstop, and they think it feels great. So who knows?
And a lot of these guys. I mean, obviously not all the players are from the South. There's players from all over, but I guess my point to that is there are players across the country going through much hotter conditions than our guys are.
And they have world class. And it's a great question. Crazy enough, because I was getting ready for work this morning, and I don't want to get it wrong. I want to say it was a college somewhere. Had a football player actually died of a heat stroke.
It can happen. Yeah,
it can happen. I did see that. But they monitor that stuff really, really, really
close. They do. And like Coach Rod said, it's important for the guy. He talked about the guys cramping. He said maybe that'll teach them, maybe they'll learn from it and know they got to stay hydrated before, during, and after practice. It's very important that they stay hydrated. So, especially when it's hot outside and humid. But yeah, it's always a risk when you practice outdoors in the heat. I'm sure the guys understand that, but, and I'm sure Rich Rod, tries to keep that in mind. But real quick before we go, Jonathan, did you hear the part about Rich Rod where he does a fireside chat with the players during camp?
Yes.
I thought that was pretty interesting. Yeah. I'm sure other coaches do similar things, but why I found it interesting, and Coach Rod talked about where sometimes he'll take a few coaches and a few players and they'll just sit around and chit chat and get to know each other. And they call it a fireside chat, and it's not guys in the same position room either. It's guys from different positions on the team. Yeah. So they can all get to know each other better and helps build chemistry. But what came to my mind, we all know Rich Rod is hard edge, screaming, yelling, cussing, coaching guys hard, right? It's what he's known for. But this goes to show you there's more to him than that. Rich Rod loves his players. And there's more to him than just yelling, screaming, and cussing, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that fireside chat, I loved that comment and him talking about that because I think it gives us a little glimpse that there's more to it than just him yelling at everybody.
Yeah. I had a coach one time. I don't even remember where it's funny that I remember the quote, but don't necessarily remember. I think I was reading a book somewhere. It was a pretty successful coach. And they had a great quote. It said, "You coach them hard, but you love them harder."
Yep.
And I always thought that was pretty. That quote's actually always stuck with me, And I think he does a really, really good job.
Yep.
We got a baseball question.
Yeah, we got Chase Strickland here asking on YouTube, does Jonathan like the Cabrian Hayes trade by the Reds?
Yeah, well, I will say I worked today. We do have full-time jobs, so between working, preparing for a show, and everything else that was going on, I saw it. I haven't digested it a ton. Mixed right now. There's a lot to love about Hayes defensively. My only concern is the Reds are in a bad spot. They need offense. So if there's other moves to be made, I like it because I feel really good about the pitching staff. And if you can add defense to this team, I feel good there, but they need offense. And Hayes just doesn't really give you offense. But if that's the only move, I'll be really disappointed because he just doesn't hit. We need hitters.
Yep.
So yeah, huge Reds fan. Huge Reds fan here, man. Live it, breathe it. I know you're a Pirates fan. All right, well,
Yeah.
enjoy our number 9 prospect. I think while we.
Yeah, Chase Strickland said he's the one who asked that question is a Pirates fan. I really don't follow baseball anymore, but when I did, I was a Braves fan. I still
Yeah,
consider myself a Braves fan. If I turn a game on, that's who I'm cheering for. But I
yeah.
just don't. I got to where I just can't sit and watch a baseball game on TV anymore.
Yeah. So funny story, real quick. I know we probably got to wrap it up. So I was raised a Reds fan. My dad was a huge fan. When I was younger, at that time, we didn't live too far from Cincinnati. We made a lot of trips, so it's got a lot of special meaning to me. My wife, her grandparents and parents were huge Braves fans. And I always thought either my wife really loves me or she just really loves baseball because she kind of came over. And we make probably try to 3, 4, maybe 5 trips to Cincinnati, do a long weekend and go up. I feel like baseball fans are kind of a dying breed, but we love it. I don't watch every game every night, the entirety of the game, just because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
But rest assured, we typically catch at least a couple innings every night. Man, we love baseball. We love it. We're Reds fans. Sorry, Chase. I know you're a Pirates guy, but nah. I wish the Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates were both a little bit better. But we love baseball in the house.
All right. Before we sign off, I do want to give a quick shout out to some folks who chimed in the chat room. Curtis D316, Yeti 304, Kevin Backus, It's Coop, Talk is Pit was in the house. Travis Overdorf, Zachary Johnson. Thank you. We mentioned Strickland, Appalachia Africa Twin. Thank you so much for your insight, and thank you for your super chat, and also thank you for letting me know that my volume was low because I had no idea. Shaq was in the house. Thank him. David McIntyre, Stephen Keel, Luke Bart, and Earth Ether. I think we mentioned him earlier. Michael Coates, 55, was in the house.
Oh.
On X, he says a dog, Coach Junior. I think we may know why he's awesome, man. Thank you for joining the show. We appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully you heard us talking up Mr. Coates. All right. Well, thank you all for joining the show. Whether you're watching on X or YouTube, if you are on X, please come over to the YouTube channel. Check us out. I do shows almost every day. Jonathan and I, we will probably get back to our once a week schedule. We hope. We have both had a lot of things going on last few weeks, and to be honest, there's not been a whole lot of stuff to talk about. So fall camp started again, so hopefully we'll be back to doing this weekly. We appreciate you tuning into the show. Another shout out to Appalachia Digital, our sponsors. Hope the rest of your day's top shelf. God bless, and Q Country Roads.